Welcome to Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching us everywhere in the whole area, not the wide world, but Pittsburgh area, suburbs and city on Verizon 32 and our hometown Comcast 7 only in Bethel Park. We appreciate it. And sorry for that little delay. I was going over our script. Hey, John, can you pull a close-up on the script? Because the control room gave me all these orders to follow. Just pull a close-up, because I think they wrote something on it.
That's an invisible ink.
Ah, it disappeared. Thanks to Devin Shea, Ian Bell, Matt No-Show Harkins, and Tiger, you can't get in trouble here, buddy, so you did a nice close-up there. Thank you very much.
Good job.
I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. I got other guys with me. We're going to find out. Chip the Prophet Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, and I look pretty good there, thank you. And Zach Brenner, he's disinterested. Thanks for all the likes on Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook. We hit Jim Audet, we hit the highest level we've ever been at, 4,148. So thanks everybody for liking us. Appreciate it. I just want to do a promotion of a guy who was on our show. I know you can get a close-up in the control room. Make sure that on button is recording this now because we're into it about 3 minutes. Thank you, sir. Johnny Angel's Ginchy stuff. I was just there the other day, and he's at 3623 California Avenue, Pittsburgh 15212. Not hard to find. Up in Bellevue there. Check out what he has. Chip, you'll be excited there. If you go there, there's so much Ginchy stuff, which is cool stuff. From vinyl records to all kind of posters, little games that kids played way back in the day. Army soldiers. You know how we played with those metal army soldiers?
I could go to my parents' house and dig up a few for you.
Yeah, I could go where my dad lived. But check this out.
Sure.
Johnny Angel's Ginchy stuff.
I'm sure.
Definitely. And then
Matchbox cars.
I want to give a shout out to Olive Oil's Pizzeria. That pizza we had, these guys inhaled that so fast this week that I want to thank Ryan for making a special order for me. Somehow 4 pieces of pepperoni fell on a slice of pizza. And I said, since I'm a dictator, that was the price for picking it up. So they enjoyed that. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Alexa. And thanks, Taylor there. Appreciate it. Call them up right now. Get your pizza. They got specials and everything else. 412-831-1900. Thanks for letting me hold that up, John, when I didn't need to. We're rolling on all cylinders tonight. If you've watched our show, you know we start out with what's on our mind. And if you haven't watched our show, thank you. And I got to do a special shout out to one of our biggest fans and a friend of mine for so long I can't even say it. He's eating his dinner. He's probably on dessert right now. But I ran into Chief.
Chief!
Oh, man.
Chief,
brother.
So Chief was there. He was in line. I snuck up on him. He was just waiting there, and I looked at him. He goes, whoa. He jumped a little bit. And he goes, oh, sorry, I missed your show for all these weeks, but the Post-Gazette has me working at 9 o'clock on Monday nights, so he can't come out because there's no way he could make it all the way out to Clinton, PA, where the new plant is. So that's where he's working at.
Really?
Yeah, so the Post-Gazette moved, and he said he watches the show religiously. He doesn't miss a show. He said, I can't wait to hear Chip talking baseball, and he had this book, like a Bible of baseball stuff that he's been getting for 25 years at least. I said, Chief, we used to talk about that around the machines. He goes, well, I'll be listening tonight. And then Zach Brenner, one of your peeps from your neighborhood, Renee, was there. And she's asking me all these questions like she does, and she goes, thanks to you guys for teaching me about all this. Then she goes, I watched your new show, Healthier, Happier You. I said, I can only mention sports tonight, so we'll leave that for another day. But she had questions there, and she just loves our show, and she can't wait to get one of our hats. So I put an order in for her, and she'll have that Pittsburgh Sportsline hat at the Giant Eagle Market District up by Station Square.
Huge.
So
that's huge.
thanks, our fans. Then some of my Keystone Oaks friends that I've run into, and you know who you are, Debbie and the rest of you guys that are watching the show with your mom and dad. We had a lot of great memories. You keep watching, and I'm not a celebrity, as you said, yet. So no celebrity status here. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We're going to start with what's on our mind. Zach Brenner, what's on your mind?
Well, Halloween, the talking machine, there's a lot on my mind, but I'm going to narrow it down tonight just for you, sir. Just in your honor. What's really on my mind as my hat foretells is Pitt. Last night, Sam Clancy, shout out to Sam Clancy, Hall of Fame Pitt Panther, came out to the show last night down at Atria's to send us off at our last show, but we'll talk more about that later. But me and Sam Clancy had a little bit of a conversation while Smoking Jim was taking all of his pictures that he usually does, and I get blinded from all the flashes.
You know, his camera didn't work, just so you know. Late breaking news. None of the photos he took.
Thanks, Devin Shea, for using your phone to take the pictures.
There you
last
go.
night
Just wanted to put
on
the...
his behalf.
Sure, and he did hit the on button, so you're getting recorded.
But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But me and Sam Clancy were having a little talk, and he said, Zach, what's your opinion on the stance of the Pitt Hoops program? And I said, Sam Clancy, what do you care about what my opinion is on the Pitt Hoops program? He's like, no, I'm serious. Alvin said that you're a huge Pitt fan. I said, well, I'm going to tell you what, Sam.
282 pounds.
This is my feeling on the Pitt Hoops program right now. I love Jamie Dixon to death. We know we're going to get probably 20 wins a season, and we're probably going to play a bunch of cupcakes on the way to doing it too, sir. But to be honest with you, what I really think about Pitt Hoops is right now is that we lack depth on the interior. We're weak. We're so little inside that it's almost embarrassing, and that's kind of the opposite of what J.B. Dixon's teams have been predicated on. He's always had decent guard play, but for the most part, down in the interior, we always had a big man. So this is one of the first seasons since Talib Zana graduated that we haven't had a big man to use down in the middle, and it's kind of hurting us this year. But to make a long story short, Sam Clancy was blown away with my answer. I was blown away with his response. I want to thank him and everybody for coming out last night, and that's what's on my mind.
And predicated is not in the old version of this, just so you know. Whoop, it's upside down. But that was a very good opening. One of your best that I can recall. Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green, you got to see Levine. And what's on my mind real quick is, listen, the best defense is sometimes a great offense. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are loaded on offense, and they do a great job at selecting wide receivers and getting rid of getting rid of receivers before they start making big money. In 2015, Marcus Wheaton will be entering his final year of his current contract. So maybe it's time to draft and groom his replacement. So my spotlight player of the week is a 4th or 5th round pick. The man's name is Donatello.
How do you spell that?
Can't even pronounce his name.
Donatello.
I thought it was Dontel.
Donatello Luckett. And he's
Did you
from
say
tiny Luckett.
Okay.
From tiny Harding University in Arkansas. The guy's 6 foot, 210 pounds. He got world-class speed. He's a track All-American. He runs the 110.4. He runs the 40 and 4.29. And in 2016, next year's 2015, but in 2016, you could be looking at Antonio Brown, Martavius Bryant, and Donatella Luckett. And you could have maybe the best group of receivers in the NFL. And that's what's on my mind.
That'd be great. As long as we have Big Ben throwing to him, right?
That's it. We got it. We got to have that.
Okay.
I'm getting concerned with these
just
scouting
checking.
reports every week.
Don't worry. Have no fear. All right. Enough of that stuff on the Sandbox team. Chip the Prophet Hayner, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Alan, and good evening, everybody. What's on my mind, of course, one of the main things on my mind is the start of spring training. Pitchers and catchers report tomorrow, and I'm extremely excited for the upcoming baseball season, my favorite 8 or 9 months out of the year. But a couple of things I would like to pay note to right now. First, it's Happy Fat Tuesday. Mardi Gras is in full swing down in New Orleans, and beads are flying, and so are some other things. But
just reminds you of your old Houlihan's days.
Yeah, my old
Station
Hooligans days, The next thing I'd like to make note of is I want to wish my wife a happy 5th anniversary. We've been happily married now for 5 years, and Stephanie, love you much.
Seems like longer than that, don't it?
No, it don't. It seems like I've been married for 5 minutes.
God bless you, Stephanie.
Saint Stephanie.
I have
Saint Stephanie.
I have truly been blessed. I will say that much. But to really get to the crux of what's on my mind this week is karma. Karma's on my mind. Wow. And, you sit there and you say, and you watch people do things, and I've always believed in, especially as it relates to sports, is that, there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. And we make light of people cheating and, and if you're not cheating, you're not trying and all this other stuff that goes on. But truly, I like to see sporting events be fairly and equitably settled on the field, level playing field for everybody. And, of course, there's certain people who have made household names of themselves, and it comes to pass that they were pretty severe cheaters, among a lot of other things. And yesterday, Lance Armstrong, one of the biggest cheaters and one of the biggest abusers of performance-enhancing drugs in the history of professional sports, had a judgment come down against him, and he owes the people that paid him bonus money $10 million. Wow. An arbitration board of 3 members ruled against him, and he now has to pay back because basically what he did was he admitted that he used PEDs, and everybody applauded him for doing that. This after he had already been sworn under oath in court. He perjured himself. So, these people paid him money under the premise that he was not using PEDs. This is a lie. I will justify myself. I will prove that I'm innocent. Lo and behold, not so much. And the last, but certainly not the least, at the start of baseball season, and I hope this is the last thing I have to say about this person, is Alex Rodriguez is going to get his just desserts. A-Rod is going to be trying to make the Yankee squad this year. Now, here's a guy that's guaranteed $61 million over the next 3 years. Doesn't have to swing a bat, doesn't have to do anything. The Yankees are going to pay him. I personally think that the Yankees would be better off in letting him walk. He's washed up. He's no good. Even when he was using PEDs in 2010, 2011, and 2012, he stunk. He was nowhere near the player that he was. Somebody that's getting paid $30 million a year or $25 million, whatever it is. For them to bat .270, hit 18 home runs, and get 65 RBIs, that's pedestrian at best. And I cannot wait to see what the media and the fans do when A-Rod comes up and starts, getting paid to be a designated hitter and just simply doesn't hit. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy the show, and karma, it has a way of coming back at you.
Oh. Well, we have a moment for a few chuckles. Karma already bit A-Royd. Anybody has a nickname A-Royd. Obviously, it got him. Not to give a large discussion on it, but it's already evened up. And the thing is, he shouldn't be there. He will be playing, and you know that.
Well, the apology that he handwrote to the fans, because
I didn't even want to bring that up.
He didn't want to face the media because it would have turned into a 3-ring circus. But, it just seemed very disingenuous to me. And, how can you believe anything that comes out of his mouth?
You cannot.
Who cares?
And
ball.
Next subject. Now, on this end of the table, we seem to have a consistency about cheating. No, I'm not going to bring up NASCAR because my buddy already knows about that. So what I am going to bring up, because I'm totally against cheating, because it's affecting not only a youth like Zach Brenner, but the youth of America in Little League. Now, we saw out of Chicago, they got caught cheating, egregious cheating. They got people even worse than Smoking Jim in his recruiting at Gateway and everything. They knew the players weren't supposed to be playing. They did get caught. They won the World Series, Little League now I'm talking. They're 12-year-old boys, not even young men yet. So you're promoting cheating there. It's bad enough when you have a 13 or 14-year-old pitching, but when you got all these other players that shouldn't even be there and you get caught, how can the mayor of Chicago say, I'm going to give trophies to these kids for what they did?
What happened now?
Why is it the kid's fault that the
No, I'm going to ask, you guys are, let me finish here.
Okay.
You're telling me that it's not the kid's fault when they know this kid's not supposed to be on the team.
Right.
And we won a game. That kid's not on the team. He's on the team and he's cheating more than anybody because he believes in it. Now you're telling me the mayor of Chicago can say, so what about the Little League World Series and their group and organization? We don't believe in that. Give these kids a trophy now because they represented Jackie Robinson West out of Chicago, so now we're going to give them a trophy. How's that even make any sense? So
Smoking Jim.
I'm familiar with forfeiting games, but what happened now?
they won the World Series.
They don't want to beat the girl? They beat the girl?
Yes, they
Wow.
are.
Yeah,
So what happened was each team is only allowed to draw players from a certain geographic area in the city in which they live. Okay? So what they did was they went outside of the area that they were allowed to have players play in and brought in better players so that they could tilt the scales in their favor. So children were playing that were ineligible to be playing. And they did that, and they happened to win the championship because of it.
And notice that I said worse than Gateway, because you're allowed to recruit because the parents work there now. They live there.
Yeah.
So what if the apartment that they supposedly get is owned by the coach of the team? That doesn't matter.
No.
And if I may,
Go
add
ahead. You
something.
can because this is important.
On a more serious note, and I think Al brings up a great point about this and what it's doing to the youth of America, because the adults were the ones that laid the groundwork for all this, and we all know that 12-year-old children are not stupid. Okay.
Thank you. Look at him.
So this all being said, here is where I find the big problem with it.
Look at him.
One of the big problems has been with baseball is that a lot of inner city youths have not been getting involved in baseball, and subsequently some of the better athletes that could be in the sport of baseball haven't been drawn to play the sport. This team winning the championship like it did was the greatest thing that could have happened to the African American youth, because it gives them a reason to want to pick up a bat and a ball and play. Right. So now, they were caught cheating, and you know what? Rules are the rules. You got to abide by them. What bothers me is that Jesse Jackson crawls out from whatever stone he was underneath and immediately and immediately pulls the race card, saying that the only reason why anybody brought this up was because they were black. And I think that's ridiculous to even make that statement. I mean, this is pretty much a cut and dried situation.
It's simple, actually, because they got caught. They're guilty. The rules state
the rules
explicitly.
The rules are clear.
That you
the
have
worst
to
part
forfeit.
about it, though, that we're not talking about is there's a team out in Las Vegas, Nevada, that had some real talented kids that were in the right geographical area, did it all the right ways, should have won, against, hypothetically, they should have beat Jackie Robinson, the all-star team. They almost won that game.
Yeah.
And now they get awarded trophies that, that now they feel a certain kind of way.
If they're in Las Vegas, they was cheating too, or at least betting on it.
They were at least living.
But
Not legally. Not legally. Friendly bets like we do. But seriously, that shows how complex it gets after an entity rules that it's illegal. I mean, a mayor's stepping in.
What kind of message does it send, though, when you know that Alex Rodriguez has admitted to using it, got juiced up stats on juice, and you still let the guy show up and play anyways? Like, what kind of integrity does that work?
Because of the CBA. He served his time.
Baseball's one of the biggest jokes.
We can't help it, Bud Selig's like that. He's gone now. May he rest in peace.
Be very honest with you.
He's not dead.
More or less of a
I
joke
mean,
than
on
any other
baseball,
professional
he's
sport.
dead.
You know, the
He's
same
the-
things that go on in baseball go on in every professional sport, and I would like to see more of a level playing field. You know, and games to be just, you know, decide the outcome on the field instead of all the other stuff. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up tonight, because it means a lot to me.
1/8.
I didn't even hear it.
1/8.
We'll talk about under Z time. I hope we get to that on Z time. But all right, we'll go to a couple of our segments. But one more thing before we go to a segment. I talked to Johnny Angel today, and he is now the king of the Mardi Gras. He's right now at the Elks Club, and he's the king of the Mardi Gras in Pittsburgh. So he just got another title. So I said, have a good time, brother. And you know he's going to have a good time at the Elks Club. Well, in Pittsburgh. They're
Where's
having
that at?
one in Pittsburgh. At the Elks Club in
Where's the Elks Club?
Bellevue, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, in his hometown
We
there.
got to get there.
So he's a king.
I got beads.
All right, Zach. I
About
saw
10 miles this side of
I think I'm
Ambridge.
allowed in Bellevue.
Well, I don't
You drive
know.
through it to get to Ambridge, right?
I don't know. We better get your segment here. Some fiction and fact. And please give us some fact tonight from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. Listen, last week my good friend Chip and I were talking about, and Chip informed me that Arizona Cardinals promoted their linebacker coach to defensive coordinator, and that started a discussion. Listen, Keith Butler, the Pittsburgh Steelers, could have been a pretty good head coach, but he's going to be the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL next year. Dick Hoke could have been a good head coach, but he wouldn't have been a good coordinator. A great example would be Mike Ditka. Mike Ditka was a great head coach, Hall of Fame head coach, but he'd have been a horrible coordinator because it'd have been Walter Payton right, Walter Payton left, 3rd down and 20, Walter Payton on the sweep. Coordinators have to be innovators. They have to be organizers and situational experts. And my fiction, in fact, from Smoking Jim's Almanac goes to Russ Grimm. Russ Grimm would have been a great head coach, but not a very good coordinator. He was part of the Hogs in the 1980s with Jeff Bostic, Mark May, and Joe Jacoby. And Russ Grimm was a great athlete for Southmoreland High School. He was a quarterback, linebacker, and a star basketball player. And he told me that he never, ever played the line before in his life. And when he got to Pitt, Pitt wanted to move him from linebacker to the offensive line, and he said no, he was going to transfer. And legendary offensive line coach Joe Moore convinced him to move to the offensive line. Joe Moore told him, he says, there's nothing on this earth greater than a man being able to move another man against his will. And Russ Grimm to this day says that is so true. There's nothing more satisfying in his career than doing that. And that's my fiction, in fact, from Smoking Jim's Almanac. I thought Russ Grimm could have been.
That was so deep. Thank you, man.
That was good stuff, Jim. That's good stuff.
Oh, man, I'm touched.
I didn't know where you were going with
And,
that.
I'm glad to see that some of our banter before and after the show, sparks a little light.
There's always a lot
It's
of
all
sparks.
Chip. It's all Chip.
There comes Z. He's coming back. But first, we got to do Chip's trivia time.
Well, thank you, Alan. And being that we're right on the cusp of the baseball season, and staying with my theme from the last 2 weeks with the fact that this month is Black History Month, wanted to touch on a couple of the greatest teams that ever played in the Negro Leagues. And both of them happen to play right here in Pittsburgh. Wow. What I'm wearing right now is a replica of the Pittsburgh Crawfords hat. That was a trinket that was given out at Pirate Game a couple of years ago. The Pittsburgh Crawfords were a team that played in the Hill District. They were owned by a gentleman named, a very nefarious character. Gus Greenlee bought the team. He owned the Crawford Grill, and he had some other kind of under-the-table businesses. And he happened to create probably one of the greatest African-American teams in the Negro Leagues of all time. The Pittsburgh Crawfords of the mid-1930s were second to none. Most of the a fair number of the players on the team ended up in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. They won the Negro League World Championship in, I believe, 1935 and 1936. And, subsequently, by the time they got into the early 1940s, is when Gus had decided to sell the team off, and they became the Toledo Crawfords, moved out of the city of Pittsburgh. And the other team is the Homestead Grays. And this is, Zach Brenner's hometown, but the Homestead Grays actually have a bridge named after them. Used to be the Homestead High Level Bridge. It's now the Homestead Grays Bridge. And most of the players that played for the Pittsburgh Crawfords ultimately ended up playing for the Homestead Grays. And the Homestead Grays had probably, some of the greatest players that ever played the game. And I was digging through some history of the Baseball Hall of Fame today, and there are 35 players of the 310 players that are in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. There's 35 players that never played, well, few of them played Major League Baseball, but they made it to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
10%.
Pretty close. Pretty
Your
close.
math has
Dude,
gotten
I'll tell
so
you what,
good.
that must be a Vulcan over here. But that's a tribute to Jim's alma mater. But the Homestead Grays ultimately became one of the most renowned teams in the Negro Leagues. They made it to the Negro League World Series 5 times. They won 3, and they lost 2 championships. The list of players on both teams, I'm going to kind of go over a few of them because there are 35 players that were elected into the Hall of Fame. The thing I find ironic is that 17 of the 35 were elected in 2006. But the first player elected into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame was Satchel Paige, probably the most recognizable player from the Negro Leagues, even more so than Jackie Robinson. Satchel Paige pitched well into his 40s, probably even into his 50s.
He may have been a rookie at 47
Very,
instead of 42.
very
There were
well.
rumors that he lied on his age playing baseball.
that-
So imagine that. That makes it more impressive to me, just so you know.
That could be. So Satchel Paige in 1971 was the first elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. 1972, 2 players made it, Buck Leonard, Josh Gibson. Josh Gibson is known as the Black Babe Ruth, and he hit he had a penchant for hitting home runs, and since they didn't keep very good records of things, they said that it's very possible that he hit 80 home runs in one season, and they feel that he hit over 800 home runs in his career. The next entrant into the Hall of Fame was a gentleman named Monty Irvin, and Monty Irvin was another outfielder, and where I recognize Monty Irvin's name from, he played right alongside of Willie Mays in 1954 when the New York Giants won the last World Championship they won before they won the 3 of the last 5 here at the New York Polo Grounds. They swept the Cleveland Indians that year. 1974 brought in Cool Papa Bell, possibly one of the fastest players to ever play the game. Judy Johnson was in 1975. A gentleman I highlighted last week, Oscar Charleston, 1976. And 2 more in 1977, Pop Lloyd and Martin DeHigo. Those are just DeHigo. I can't read my own writing sometimes. Most of these players played here in the city of Pittsburgh, and the fields that they played in. One was in the Hill District, one was over in Homestead. A lot of baseball was played here, and Pittsburgh's deep in baseball history. The Pittsburgh Pirates go back to, I believe, 1889, and even the Pittsburgh Alleghenies even earlier than that.
Yeah, 20 years before.
Yeah, so that's what's my trivia for tonight. My tribute to the the Negro Leagues and their contribution to baseball history.
Thanks, Chip.
It's great stuff. Great stuff.
Now we got Z time, and I was hoping he brings up an 1/8 of an inch on Z time, but I don't think. He's more positive than that.
Well, I might. I just want to, since Chip opened the door for...
You were writing stuff over there.
Just before he even started,
I saw it.
I take for granted because I come from a unique area and which has deep roots in the city of Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Homestead produced a huge quantity of steel that helped fight World War II and probably got us over the hump for the most part.
One of the steel
in
plants.
the Industrial Revolution. So
there was a couple, buddy.
Let's never forget. where the Homestead Grays played is I could literally spit from the street like that I grew up on, where they play, and it's getting a $5 million overhaul. So I'll take some pictures and show you guys
Update us,
what
please.
it looks like right now and what it's going to look like. So what it looks like right now is what it's looked like for 30 years of my life. So we'll see what the $5 million does. But
maybe it'll drain better.
Over time, every 15, 20 years there'd be gatherings and events over at Westfield, and I had the distinction of catching up with some of these old timers that probably definitely lied about their age, because some of these guys were super old. They seem like they seen World War One, but
let me tell you, they did.
So
They played in the 30s and 40s. It's a pretty good team.
Like, just as a side note, we don't know Mario Tempest how old Smoking Jim is still. We were close last night, and then the water blew up everywhere. That'll be on the location story.
it will.
But no, you bring up some great points, and you did write down each time before Chip got to it. He was putting them up. He put Page, he put the Grays, he put Gibson, he put all those up. So I'm just glad that they played baseball, white or black, there. And in his hometown, because I consider it all Pittsburgh.
It is.
I consider we're all Pittsburgh
all our home.
on that.
And,
It's all
and
our
the
home.
thing about the rivalry between the Crawfords and the Grays was it was one of those rivalries where it was it would be like the Connie Hawkins. I'm sure there's some Central Catholic little basketball tournament that rivaled the Connie Hawkins family that we don't really know too much about. But
No, they
the
dominate.
Crawfords and the Grays would swap each other's players. Guys would jump ship from the Grays and go to the Crawfords, and guys would jump from the Crawfords and go to the Grays. So, Chip was right. At one time, these guys played for both, and some of them, even played together when they merged and all became But a team that I think that doesn't get a lot of credit in the Negro League is the Kansas City Monarchs, because the Kansas City Monarchs made a lot of waves in the Negro League. Not maybe as much as the Grays, but as far as just putting it on the map and trying to get the barrier down and bring that segregation down. I like to give a shout out to all the Negro teams, all the executives in baseball, all the rich, poor, whoever that played their role in getting the likes of Jackie Robinson on the field, Branch Rickey, and all these guys. And also we need to pay recognition to great coach Dean Smith, who passed away for North Carolina. He was instrumental in kind of breaking that barrier in collegiate basketball and bringing African Americans onto his roster and not really caring about color and being more important about winning, like I am, like I would be all through time. I don't care what color you are. I'm here to win, and I give a shout out to Dean Smith. And lastly, Al Levine keeps getting on me about 1/8 of an inch. My favorite race car driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., was disqualified from qualifying because his car was found to be 1/8 of an inch too low on the front end. So
Despicable.
hopefully, once I make my way down to Speed Weeks here in the next 48 hours,
Where are you going?
We'll be able to straighten this out. I'll be in Daytona Beach, Florida.
And here's breaking news. Zach's bringing a tape measure with him.
It's standard issue. It's standard issue. NBC is Al Levine.
So he won't be able to run?
There's no doubt.
Here's the thing. He'll be able to run.
Explain it to us, please.
What
Yes,
they did
please.
for the first time ever this year at Daytona Speed Weeks is they had group qualifying. Normally, each car would go off by themselves and be timed, and the fastest car would be declared the pool winner for the race. But the qualifying for Daytona is unique in the sense that the qualifying itself only sets the front row. The first two cars are the only two cars. Then what happens is we go to what's called dual races, where we're going to have two races on Thursday to pretty much set the rest of the field for the race. There's a 42 car field, so 40 cars are going to make the Daytona 500 on Thursday, which has nothing to do with the qualifying.
So there would be 20 other races?
There's going to be two races, and it splits it in
Twin
half. 20
150s.
cars, 20,
okay.
So there's going to be two half little races, and that based on where you finish in that is going to set the field. But the qualifying, which Junior failed, really isn't that instrumental because he's going to have a chance on Thursday to race himself in and maybe
As
get
close
himself
as
in
third.
even better. Yeah, instead of being in 10th, he could be third. So that's what's going to happen this on Thursday. And like I said, I'm leaving on Thursday to make my way down
You're
to
gonna miss
Beach,
it.
Florida. I'll miss the duels, but I'll be there in time for all the festivities on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So
We're looking for those live reports right on Facebook.
we'll get them. I've been checking the weather, and it looks like it's going to be nice. And
Hold it. I don't care about that weather. How's it look in Pittsburgh when you're gone? Because now half of the city, and I'm only exaggerating, well, maybe a little bit, they're not going to be able to dig out because I heard cold and snow are coming again. Give me an update when you're gone.
It's rumored that on Sunday, my good friend Larry Rickard at KDKA has informed me that I'm going to be good. John Burnett also has told me that I should be good. There might be some snow on Saturday night or something, but
Again.
hopefully I could get back in time for a Tuesday night show next week. So that's going to be the plan. So
You had to check that. What's that?
No, I wanted Zach gave a shout out to Dean Smith. Actually, two of the all-time greats in NCAA basketball coaching died. Jerry Tarkanian, who was the head coach at UNLV and at Fresno State as well. He had over 750 wins, and Dean Smith had over 860 some. So between the two of them, they probably were responsible for over 1,400 or 1,500 NCAA basketball wins.
And Tark's a great guy. He came in for Armin Hammer Gilliam's funeral, and so I thought that was great. Armin died unexpectedly.
Bethel Park's local hero that died too young.
Well, what a perfect segue, folks, to talk about a little bit of Pitt hoops as we get ready for March Madness. A lot of people have Pitt not making the tournament. They lost last night convincingly to Virginia after a great home win at the Pete against North Carolina. So it's kind of been an up and down year for Jamie Dixon and those guys over in Oakland. What do you guys think about Pitt?
I like to see them go back to the CBI.
Ooh.
Well, to be honest with you, the Pitt had won 4 of its last 5 games, and last night they could have really given a very strong argument for being into the 64-team tournament win by beating number 2 Virginia. But Pitt has already beat number 8 Notre Dame. North Carolina was ranked number 12. What they really need to do now that they kind of laid a little bit of an egg last night. They've got Syracuse this Saturday, and they really need to win that game.
And that's always a tough game for them.
Yeah,
no matter where it's played, it's a tough game. The Orange.
They beat Syracuse at the Pete a couple weeks ago.
They beat them, but we're going up to their home floor. And the only thing that Pitt can do right now is just win as many games as they can. This game against Syracuse is winnable this year.
Is it true that Pitt had a stretch or two where they went over 5 minutes without making a bucket?
Oh, yeah.
Matty McConnell, 2 words. Recruiting, baby.
Well, one of the things that Zach was talking about when he was talking about the Pitt basketball program, and the Pitt has lacked a very strong inside presence on the rebounding side and on the defensive side of the ball. That goes without saying. But what Pitt really needs, if you're not going to have somebody strong in the middle, you've got your outside people need to knock down their shots, and they just don't make enough baskets. That's what really that they need to do. They need to knock down the outside shots, because if they're not going to be able to win the rebounding battle, the only way to do
Jeter looks
that,
like the real deal since they're giving him more playing time now. And he can shoot, and they have some shooters there. It's just, as you shoot the threes, they don't all go in.
No.
Okay,
You
now
don't consider
what
Jamie
nugget of wisdom
Dixon.
do you
You
have
don't
now?
consider Jamie Dixon a quality college basketball
Well,
coach?
let me just
He
say
hates
this.
Jamie.
Let me answer one question first.
Who?
Gateway had a 6'11" guy
What Gateway?
named Barnett Harris that would have loved to go to Pitt. They didn't recruit him. The 2 greatest players in the last 10 years at Pitt were all local guys. They only recruited 2. DeJuan Blair, and now the guy that they didn't recruit, Sheldon out of Beaver Falls, had to transfer back in. There's talent in Western Pennsylvania. Don't let the Matty McConnells get away.
Jim, I respect your opinion, but that's like excuses. They didn't get these kids. What do they do
didn't
now?
recruit 'em.
What do they do now? You're the coach. You can't play on a wish. You don't have those kids.
Well,
what do you do now?
Jamie Dixon does a great job with what he's given.
he He has in the past, and I believe that he will again in the future. His team is lacking right now. For whatever reason, the teams that he ran with the Big East, man, those were great basketball teams. Unfortunately, disappointing for us because they usually were early exits from the tournament.
Those teams had rare character guys. He didn't really have the benefit of very many McDonald's 5-star All-Americans. Chris Taft wasn't. I think
and
he was
when
the last.
it really.
And
did matter.
as far as my boy DeJuan Blair, who plays for the Washington Wizards now, hail to Pitt. He was kind of gift wrapped and just left on the Cathedral of Learning's door. He didn't have to go too far to play basketball.
Well,
and the reason why, unlike Terrell Pryor, he had the opposite syndrome because he's from the city. He knows what it was like, and he was all about it. And unlike Terrell Pryor, who was worried about playing in front of 65,000 people and getting tattoos.
Terrell Pryor was going where he got paid the most.
But you don't understand. He committed at one point. He committed to the University of Pittsburgh for basketball.
10th grade,
he committed to play basketball at Pitt.
And him and
Not surprised that he didn't stand up to his commitment.
One thing, if you ask me if Jamie Dixon can coach, all I got to say is Jamie Dixon sends more players overseas than any other coach.
At least they're working.
That's not true because right now he has a guy right now that plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
One and done.
Stephen Adams.
Yeah, that was good. One and done. He's been Jamie Dixon.
And then what about the big guy? What's his face that went to the Chicago Bulls? Adam. He couldn't shoot free throws to save his life.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That was years ago.
You're a young man. The time just goes
Young.
slow to you.
Sam Young went to the Memphis Grizzlies. Come on, Smoking Jim. Like I said, Jamie Dixon is a very underrated coach.
Here's the thing. Wait till the 7-footer they have that'll be here next year. You have the inside game, and you have a 7-footer on the court. That'll help. This year, I believe they'll get to the tournament.
NIT?
No.
Jim,
The big
ACC?
just speak to your point.
NCAA.
Okay? Think about how many college basketball teams are there Division I? Say what, about 130, 135?
I'll take it.
Roughly. So you're figuring every team's got, what, 12 kids on it? Do the math. How many kids come out of college and actually end up playing ball in the NBA? Very few. Okay, the NBA does not. I mean, not every kid that plays college basketball ends up on an NBA roster. Most of the kids that play collegiate basketball make their livings doing something other than playing basketball.
Princeton, they play good basketball, but those kids don't want to play in the NBA. But what I'm saying is
because they don't want to take a cut and pay once they get their degree.
500 caliber companies, and they don't need to.
They're getting $1 million job out of school.
You look at Syracuse, you look at Duke, you look at North Carolina. Kentucky, those teams, the NBA is filled with.
For some of your fiction and fact, could you find out? I know you're a football guy, but could you find out what the top 5 college teams have as players going to the NBA?
Oh, I sure can.
I know you can. I'm trying to help you out.
Let's put them on the court.
There's be 5 of them for Kentucky this year.
Well,
we understand that.
We could wrap up this Pitt segment. Very simply said, as Smoking Jim said, Jamie Dixon needs to do a better job of recruiting here at home. There's talent around here close to home that could help the team and get us over the hump a little bit. Not that we're ever going to win a national championship of basketball at Pitt, but we like to be in it. But right now, switching over from Pitt, we got the Penguins playing tonight.
Wonder what the score is in that control room. 8 guys are in the control room.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing with the Capitals tonight. This is the 3rd time we've played the Capitals. This is a team that's in our own division that we need to beat.
Again.
We've lost to them twice, 4-0 and 3-0 this year. We haven't scored a single goal against them.
Wow.
Well, their goaltender, if you look at his stats side by side against Marc-Andre Fleury's, they are almost mirror copies. They are within 1/100th of a percentage point. They've got the exact same numbers of wins. Wow. One has a save percentage of 9.24. The other is 0.923. I mean, they do so many things similarly.
Did you see on Saturday Patrick Kane take Marc-Andre Fleury just out to the woodshed? And
he would have taken any goal.
And that's what I argue with my brother. I said,
who's your brother?
He would have made anybody look silly.
Well, right now, Patrick Kane, I could say right now at this point tonight that if you were to ask who the best player in the NHL is, I think Patrick Kane could put up a good enough argument to say that he's the number one player in the NHL, not Sidney Crosby.
Well, the numbers don't lie.
No?
The liars can lie, but
Well,
the numbers don't lie.
and it's hard to judge that right now. Season isn't over, and it's February. When we get to the end of the season, we'll see.
Yeah,
what
but
happens.
it's the first season in hockey. I only wait for the second season. I appreciate the wins in the first season. If we win a championship, that'll be great with all the changes.
Like I've
and
been
injuries.
saying for weeks, though, a little bit of adversity for a hockey club early in the season is not a bad thing. And here's our update on the score.
Hold it. No show. Matt Harkins just revealed 1-0 Caps, 1 minute to go. He couldn't wait till the end of the first. Another report. The same thing. Whatever they're doing in a control room,
Hey,
folks, you got to call in 412-831-3304.
If I may take a quick 30 seconds, there's a joke between Alan and Jim and myself. When I first came on to this show 3 years ago, or a little over 3 years ago. Yeah, they
You're old now.
They joked, they called me Wally Chip because I came on as a guest one night, almost the way Lou Gehrig did when Wally Pip went out hurt and they never got to say. Well, speaking of Wally Chip, today was Wally Pip's birthday.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
Well, with that being said, then I don't know. I guess I'm Wally Pip to the third power or something like that,
Well,
because
here,
I
let
came
me-
in and took the backboard and smashed it and then with the ring.
Well, let me explain this. Since I'm holding the cards on the history of Pittsburgh Sportsline, we've now lost a couple guys that were on the show. And the seat that Chip was filling, one of our colleagues said we'd have a steady guest who I won't name his name because I don't know if he knew he was going to be a steady guest, but he could never make it. He's been a guest on our show, a very good guy. So the seat Chip was filling in for was like a revolving door.
Dude, Smoking Jim's brother from another mother.
Yes. And that's a story for a day that not on here. And then Zach Brenner filled in for not one but two guys that we couldn't keep him in the seat. So whatever he's done, he come in because he didn't even believe we were doing a TV show. Then he found out we were doing two. So being a young, energetic guy, he said, when can I get on that Tuesday night live show? I'd really be good at it. I go, I don't know. We'll have to work on that. So we tried to get some other people in. He has the world record streak for Sips Sports Bar. Will never be broken. 33 guest appearances. Wow. Not always on time, just so you know, there's a little asterisk there. Well, no, it's part of his record. Mm-hmm. But he did always show up to make it on the show. So then he went under double secret probation. Then he had to hit triple secret probation because he had fans and family telling me I should have had him on regularly. So that's like, you know what, that doesn't happen. So after he served his time, he's now not like Lou Gehrig, because he's like twice the man that Lou Gehrig was. No disrespect there, but we're Pittsburgh Sportsline, so he can be that. Go ahead, Chip.
I got a little something on a different note here. I always have conversations with Jim after the show, and this is one I'm going to have with him. I heard some interesting statistics
One more update. Hold that thought. These guys are unbelievable. Matt, no show, Harkins. 1-0 Caps into the first. Devin Shea, who's holding his hand in there. Why, I don't know.
Okay.
Now it's 1-0 into the first.
But Jim and I have brought this point up on more than one occasion, that we both feel that the University of Pittsburgh does not recruit nearly enough locally. There's a lot of football talent that we've talked about that doesn't seem to be playing here at Pitt or doesn't get recruited, and there's also a lot of basketball talent. This past year, the number of WPIAL athletes that got signed to Division I programs was 18.
That's a shame.
And wait, there was only one athlete that was signed by any one of the 5 power conferences in the NCAA, and it was the University of Maryland was who he signed with, and I don't know what his name is. Wow. They said last year, 2 years ago, I believe 21 athletes from Western Pennsylvania got signed by Division I schools. Last year, it went up to almost like 30 or 31. But this year it was back down again. When I heard that information, my jaw almost hit the ground because I thought that there was always a lot more talent in this part of the country than that. But I mean,
let me give you a stat while you're on it to show how strong we are. Ever since the Big 33 started, there's been one player every year from this area that goes to the NFL. One player from the Big 33. So that shows how strong we are. And I'll just chime in, since you guys never included me in that conversation on what Pitt's doing. We should always have local players here. They should never leave. You should put up a fence around Pittsburgh. How did we have all these teams throughout history with Pittsburgh kids in this area?
Yeah. You know, Ben DiNucci and Brett Bumbaugh are going to both be quarterbacking in the Big 33 game this year.
That's good.
Well,
And just one step further with the Big 33, it's never been a Super Bowl that a Big 33 player hadn't been in it.
Now, still
That's why I was hoping
keeping
you'd
with
assist that. That
still
was the main
keeping with
point,
basketball
buddy. Thanks.
though. Still keeping with basketball. Nobody touched on this yet.
Hold it, basketball. Just come in. Matt No-Show Harkins. Tennessee is winning at the halftime.
Over Kentucky.
29-26.
Okay, Kentucky will still win. But
watch your points, gamblers.
To segue over to another topic, though, how much of a joke is the NBA All-Star Game? That might have been one of the big. Why? Because it was 301 points.
That's what it should be all the time if you're a shooter.
It
should be that all. ABA was
no
like that all the
defense.
time.
Zach,
When did they play the All-Star game?
The same way.
Sunday.
Oh, I missed it.
The same way as the NHL All-Star Game, the NFL All-Star Game, and the NBA All-Star Game.
That's the only thing we really wholeheartedly agree on is that the only
Smoking
two.
Jim.
I got a question because you know I love homeschool, and we talk about there's Monet. What's her name? The baseball player.
Monet Davis.
Monet Davis.
She's at the All-Star game D'ing up Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Hart. She crossed over Kevin Hart.
No,
Hey, for all you fans that aren't fans of the Flyers, they're losing 2-0. Devin Shea reported. Blue Jackets 2, Flyers nothing.
Oh, thank you.
is she
We're
being
done with them.
Is she being homeschooled? She's everywhere.
She's not being homeschooled, but also
She has a tutor
the
with her.
University of Connecticut got found to be in violation because
They offered
Gino
her scholarship.
Uriema called her to congratulate her on what she did good in the Little League World Series. Well, I guess now when you ask her what she wants to do, she wants to go to the University of Connecticut and play point guard in
There you
basketball.
go.
So
They say she's
you
good.
know, well, she is good, but I guess
Gino got the best job in the world.
Gino jumped the gun a
We'll
little
talk
bit.
about other subjects there. Smoking Jim. Hey, before we end it, I want to at least go on location here. I figured we'd have a nice, intelligent conversation because last night, while we were at Atria's, it is our last show for now. But I did get 2 phone calls today. Believe it or not, it was a miracle today. I got Smoking Jim on the phone. Soon as I got him on the phone, I got a call from our friend from Atria's, one of the partners, John Gagetta. And he said, we're going to try you guys out one time during the summer, during baseball season, to come up with something. So we'll come up with some type of plan, maybe outside or whatever else.
I love baseball.
Well, I know you do now because I mentioned it.
I'm going to get you.
He's
to sit
only
through
as good
9
as the
innings.
last
If
comment.
You
it
can't
kills
even
me,
sit through a
I'm gonna get
9-inning
you to
game.
sit through 9 innings if it kills me.
You couldn't
And
even sit
that's
through the
why
7th inning stretch.
We were hoping to stay at PNC Park Atria's. It would have been the first time ever. And this big baseball fan, because we're not allowed to know his age and his weight, but he's a big fan of baseball, very big. He would have made it for the whole game because we had to stay till after the game. That's what I was hoping. So we're keeping hope alive, not just my sister in New Jersey, but shout out to her for watching. So we got a call there. We are going to be moving to another place. I also had another call while Smoking Jim. I was supposed to call him back. I pulled a Smoking Jim on him. And there was another place, and they said, could you talk? I go, for you, I got time. So we're looking at going to another place in the South Hills. We actually got 2 places. And whatever messages that control room has, here. We don't care. John, leave it there.
Hey, you know what?
He's diving.
One of our big fans down in Florida, Zach will be seeing this weekend. Joyce, you can go ahead and send some gnocchi home with Zach.
She made 400 of them. Gnocchis.
Gnocchi. Good
They're
stuff.
very good. They're like dumplings.
Oh, yeah.
Right, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
So on location, I wanted to we'll be
I'm
at
eating
Duke's.
chips on the way back.
We'll be at Duke's.
I know you will.
We'll be at Duke's Rib House and Grill. Now they got their anniversary. If you haven't watched the show, it's on March 6th. The new owners are going to have specials that you can celebrate from the 6th through the 13th. Smoking Jim, I'm working on getting that free rack of ribs for you, a whole rack. So whatever day you show up, we'll see what we can get there.
Thank you, sir.
You have to talk to Reddy.
Wait a second. He keeps saying he had 2 weeks ago he had the greatest rack of ribs ever.
Yeah, but it was a half. It was a half a rack. I'm saying a full.
Okay.
Full rack.
Okay.
A
Sorry.
full.
Right.
You got
Just trying to keep
full.
him honest.
A full. All right.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
Are you going to be back for that?
Yes.
We got a lot of
Maybe.
great guests coming in for that one. So check it out next Monday, Duke's Rib House and Grill. And we appreciate that. And we're almost done here. We got a few minutes. You guys can have a little open discussion since we did talk quite a few subjects and segmented it by miracle. So anybody want something to kick off?
Well, just, kind of, a lot to look forward to with the Pittsburgh Pirates this year. Now, there's a lot of optimism going into spring training. There are no guarantees. I think the Pirates team that's going into this season is the best equipped one with starting pitching, relief pitching, starting 8 in the field, plus backup bench players. I think it's going to be a really enjoyable summer this year, and I just can't wait.
Thank goodness for the wild card.
Yes.
Well, here's what I want to say.
Yeah, I know, because the Cardinals are going to love being the wild card team this year, watching us.
No beat
Well, I don't know how it'll work
We'll be
out.
one and done.
But what's exciting for me as a longtime, baseball fan, as some of you know, and some just found out now, that it's nice
You?
to have. Oh yeah,
You like baseball?
always.
Like you were a pitcher at Keystone Oaks.
Yeah, and Greentree. Man, I'd throw the high hard one to you all day. See that beard? that beard would have been gone because my control.
I'm charging them out.
Guess what?
You
One
would've had the
fastball. Here's what would have happened. See how hard your head is? You'd have had the seams on your. You wouldn't have been able to move. It was fast. buddy. Here's what would have been there. Watch this. Straight overhand. Bang.
He wouldn't have to worry about trimming his beard.
No. Matter of fact, he'd be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in a hurry.
Chin music.
And if he charged, it would have been over. Guys would have had you down and out. And with that baby face you had, if you were the same age as I was, it would have been a baby face, buddy. So that would have been nice to see that. So I don't know where we were.
But hypothetically speaking, though, if you don't knock my lights out with the pitch before and you miss, and I do charge the mound,
That's
I'm
all right.
dumping you on that court set.
That's all right. My hair was a little shorter when I was
You
12.
would have lasted 6 more seconds, man. Do the cardio.
3 seconds, baby. That's all. With you, it would have been 3. But I would have had no fear back then, and I may have had another baseball in my back pocket. So you might have been in some serious trouble. And you better hope I didn't have.
And some pine
No, you forget sandpaper. What does that do to your head? He doesn't know about sandpaper. The catcher would have given me that. I'm just kidding. That didn't happen back then. We're under a minute, so say goodnight, Zach.
Hey, I want to
Good
say
night, Zach.
good night. There's a good possibility that I might not be on time next Tuesday, but hopefully I'll be having plenty of stories to talk about
We
from
better
Daytona,
report
Florida.
on it. Smoking Jim, what's going on?
Every time Zach comes across the Homestead Bridge,
Right.
he has CP time.
Okay, Chip, make it real quick. I got to wrap this
3
up.
words. Let's go, Bucks.
Let's go, Pens. Thanks for watching the show. We appreciate it. Check us out with some of the gear we have. Can't tell you prices on our show here. Just find them out. Come see us. Skeets is one of the best. He's ordered a couple more hats. We had another few people. Renee ordered one. A couple other people. So thanks for watching the show. Be safe out there. It'll be cold again. And Brenner's leaving town. You have to shovel on your own.